Lila Monroe was 12 when the subtle cracks in her family's perfect facade began to show. Growing up in a quaint suburban neighborhood in Columbus, Ohio, Lila's home seemed normal. A cozy two-story house, manicured lawn, and parents who smiled in family photos. But Lila noticed small things others didn't. Her uncle, Jonathan Monroe, her mother's older brother, always lingered a bit too long at family gatherings. A hand lingering on a chair back, a glance at her that lasted just a second too long. Most dismissed it as harmless affection. Lila didn't. Jonathan had always been present in their lives, the doting uncle, the man who took her to baseball games and bought her gifts that she adored. But even as a child, Lila felt his presence in ways that chilled her. Something about the way he watched her, especially when her parents were busy or out of the room, made her uneasy. The unease escalated in the months before her 12th birthday. Lila noticed cameras placed in unusual corners of the living room, hidden inside decorative objects, subtle enough that even her parents never seemed to see them. Jonathan called them security upgrades, citing burglary fears, but the way he glowed when she looked at them unnerved her. Lila tried to mention it to her parents. They waved her concerns away, tired of her imagination. Maybe it was imagination, maybe it wasn't. The week leading up to her birthday, Jonathan's behavior became increasingly intrusive. He volunteered to stay home while her parents went out to dinner, insisting he could make sure everything ran smoothly for Lila's party. She tried to protest, but her mother smiled and told her to stop being dramatic. Jonathan's smile that evening was too wide, his gaze too sharp. It started subtly. A misplaced backpack, a door slightly ajar, a note with words Lila didn't understand. She felt observed at all times. By the night of her 12th birthday, Jonathan was alone with her, claiming he was preparing the attic for the party decorations, storing old toys in boxes. Lila didn't go up at first. She had a bad feeling, but Jonathan insisted, his tone unusually commanding. That was the moment the attic door slammed shut behind her, locking her inside. Panic didn't hit immediately. Confusion did. The musty attic smelled of old wood and dust. Her hands brushed over boxes of forgotten family items and a dusty window barely letting moonlight through. She realized instantly she had been trapped. Jonathan had done this deliberately. Through the thin cracks in the attic walls, she could see movement in the house below. Jonathan's silhouette moved with precision, almost ritualistic, scanning rooms and peering into corners. The terror wasn't just that she was trapped. It was that someone she had trusted completely, someone her family loved, was watching her every move, plotting this. Fear turned to fury. Lila swore to herself that she would not let him win. She started observing back, memorizing his routine, noting the creaks in the floorboards, the times he paused to check cameras, the rhythm of his steps. She wasn't just a child trapped in an attic. She became a silent strategist. Lila's mind raced as she searched the attic for anything useful. Boxes shifted under her fingers, revealing old photo albums, journals, and forgotten toys. Her curiosity overpowered fear. In a crumpled notebook, she found references to her own family written in Jonathan's meticulous handwriting. Pages detailed behaviors, routines, and habits. Jonathan had cataloged everyone in the house for months, perhaps years, noting weaknesses, times of absence, and vulnerabilities. The revelation hit Lila hard. This was not a moment of madness. This was an obsession, a calculated campaign of control. She realized then that Jonathan's hatred had deep roots. Lila remembered overhearing arguments from years ago, whispers she was too young to understand. Her mother and Jonathan's parents had clashed over inheritance disputes, old grudges, slights remembered and exaggerated over decades. Jonathan had never forgiven perceived betrayals, and somehow, Lila had become an outlet for that festering anger. The realization that a trusted family member could harbor such resentment made her blood run cold. The attic offered few options. Windows were small, boards nailed over the outside, and the stairs had been removed. Yet Lila refused to give in to panic. She was determined. Slowly, she began to assemble a plan. She had learned from the crime shows she loved, the procedural dramas that fascinated her. Observe, record, outsmart. Her phone, left in a charger below before she was trapped, was now useless. She couldn't call for help. She had to rely on wits alone. Hours passed. Jonathan returned several times, checking for signs of distress, for evidence she might have left behind. Lila listened, cataloged, and analyzed. That was when she discovered the second shocking twist. Jonathan was not working alone. He had someone helping him, a mysterious ally with access to the house and knowledge of the family's habits. Lila overheard fragments of conversation through the attic vent. The accomplice's voice was low, almost inaudible, but the words hinted at obsession, collections, catalogs, fascination with objects tied to the family, something dark and macabre. Lila's stomach churned. Jonathan's plotting wasn't merely cruel, it had a horrifying purpose. By morning, Lila had formulated a plan. She knew Jonathan's obsession with control meant he underestimated her ingenuity. She had memorized the locations of the cameras, the patterns of his nightly checks, and the hidden pathways he and his accomplice used. Using boxes and old furniture, she created a system to move silently, setting small traps to alert her if he approached. The attic became less of a prison and more of a strategic outpost. The shocking twist came as Jonathan prepared for the day. He called out to her, feigning concern, asking her to come downstairs to help with a chore. Lila knew it was a trap. She feigned compliance in a letter she left behind, suggesting she had given up. But in reality, she had no intention of leaving the attic. She monitored him as he moved, hearing him pass by, unaware that his empire of observation had gaps of vulnerability Lila now intended to exploit. Then came a chilling discovery. Among the hidden cameras, she noticed a new lens she hadn't seen before. The accomplice had been watching the attic directly. Lila realized that she had underestimated them. But in that realization came opportunity. The accomplice's position meant they were static, focused on a single view. Lila could bait Jonathan into a routine and from there, disrupt the control system. She set her makeshift markers and waited, heart pounding, for the moment when their overconfidence would be their downfall. Hours later, Jonathan returned to check on her. He spoke to the accomplice, unaware she was listening. Their conversation revealed more than she expected. They were collecting items from her family, trophies, artifacts tied to her parents' lives, each more twisted than the last. Jonathan's fixation was not just on her, it was part of a decades-long obsession with dominance over his family. The accomplice's obsession with cataloging and collecting revealed their identity. It was someone from the neighborhood, someone no one suspected, who had quietly infiltrated the family's life under the guise of friendliness. The realization left Lila shaking, but also focused. She knew she had to act. She ran. The streets were quiet, the moonlight casting long shadows across the neighborhood. Every sound made her heart hammer, every creak of a tree or rustle of leaves made her flinch. She didn't look back. She knew Jonathan and his accomplice were still in the house, likely realizing she had disappeared. Her only goal was to reach help, to get someone to understand the horrors she had endured. She arrived at the house of the neighbor 2 blocks away, a family friend her parents trusted. Breathless, shaking, and half covered in dirt, Lila explained everything. She told them about the attic, the cameras, the notebooks cataloging the family, and the accomplice whose identity she had partially discerned. Her story was unbelievable, but her calm, precise descriptions of the layout of the house, the hidden camera angles, and Jonathan's meticulous routines made it credible. Authorities arrived within minutes. The local police, skeptical at first, quickly realized the depth of her account. Lila led them back to the Monroe residence. Her parents, stunned and pale, could hardly comprehend the betrayal. The officers began a careful sweep, following the exact path Lila had memorized. Hidden cameras were dismantled. Boxes and journals were found in the attic. Detailed lists of family routines, objects, and behaviors recorded obsessively. The accomplice remained at large, but the meticulous evidence left no doubt. Jonathan's predatory behavior was deliberate, calculated, and dangerous. Jonathan was arrested in the living room, his hands shaking as they cuffed him. He pleaded, bargained, raged, but the law had the evidence. Even so, Jonathan sent a chilling letter to a trusted family friend, bragging about his planning and obsession, a final proof of his psychological danger. The accomplice remained unidentified for some time, but Lila's precise testimony eventually led authorities to a suspect. The media dubbed it the attic case. Lila, once trapped and powerless, became a symbol of courage. Her keen observation, meticulous notes, and strategic thinking highlighted the resilience of a child facing danger from within her own family. Jonathan's obsession, cataloged and calculated, was shocking, but Lila's survival and insight proved that awareness, courage, and determination could outweigh even the most meticulous predator. The lingering fear of what Jonathan and his accomplice had planned remained a haunting reminder. Deception could hide in plain sight, and sometimes the people closest to us harbor the darkest intentions.